Hi Aquarius, this is Tisch Aitken, and this is your monthly horoscope for the month of August. We have just gotten out of eclipse season and we had 3 eclipses and a lot going on this summer, and it's been an unforgettable year with more Capricorn than we'll ever see again in our lifetime. And Saturn and Pluto met up at the world axis in your 12th house of endings and the subconscious mind, and that's where all of these planets in Capricorn have been. But you also dealt with Saturn in your sign briefly from March 23rd until July 1st, and you got a preview of what the next few years will be when Saturn re-enters your sign at the end of the year on December 17th, where it will be until March of 2023, and that is going to bring a major new chapter in your life of structuring new goals, of dealing with things that maybe have come to completion, but it's a major chapter, so you got a preview. Now, on the 1st of August, transiting Mercury is in the sign of Cancer, where it's been since the end of May, and it's in your house of work and daily routine. And it was retrograde from June 18th until July 12th. So a lot of review on your habits and your work and on your health routine. And Mercury forms an opposition to Pluto in the sky that day. And Pluto is transiting in your house of endings and the imagination. It could bring up a lot of combative energy. It could bring endings potentially. So kind of avoiding dealing with others if you can that day, or laying low. On the 3rd of August, there's a full moon that occurs in your sign at 11 degrees and 46 minutes of Aquarius, and this falls in your house of self and beginnings and immediate environment, and this could bring fruition to things you've been working on this year, particularly when Saturn was in your sign, because that again is going to be a pivotal time when Saturn re-enters at the end of this year. And on the 4th of August, transiting Mars, which is in Aries and is in your house of local neighborhood events and community events. It's the house of communication and marketing and sales. Mars is in this house and has been since June 27th and will be there in this sector of your chart until January 6th of next year. So it's an excellent time for marketing, for sales, for learning and teaching, for taking classes or workshops, and definitely for getting involved in your local neighborhood events. And Mars forms a square to Jupiter in the sky that day, and Jupiter is transiting in your 12th house of, again, the subconscious mind, and that's going to expand the Mars narrative for all of us, because Mars loves being in Aries, but in the month of August it's going to start to clash with all of the planets in Capricorn that led the year around collapsing of old paradigms and restructuring, and people are going to get a lot more fired up, and you'll see that in the beginning of August. But Mars is still at full capacity because it's going to retrograde from September 9th until November 13th. So if there's something you want to launch, take the steps as much as you're able in the month of August, because from September until November, Mars is retrograde, and that's more of a review period. That's not a time for launching something new altogether. And on the 4th of August, Mercury also exits the sign of Cancer and enters the sign of Leo, where it will be until August 19th. So Mercury will be transiting in your house of partnerships and relationships for a couple of weeks. The sun in Leo is lighting up that sector of your chart until the 22nd of August. So that's good for socializing and meeting new people and for partnering in general. So that's a nice energy. And on the 13th of August, transiting Mars is going to square Pluto in the sky. And that's one that we all want to lay low on. That's an aspect of war and combat, and people will definitely be very worked up, because as of the 11th of August, Mars is going to get to 22 degrees of cardinal fire, setting off that Saturn-Pluto conjunction that took place on January 12th that changed the decade and the world. And so with that energy, people are going to be very worked up and very much on the warpath. So use that energy to get things accomplished, but try to avoid conflict if you're able. And on the 15th of August, transiting Uranus in the sign of Taurus, stations retrograde at 10 degrees of Taurus. And that we feel the energy 5 days before and 5 days after. And that falls in your house of home and family. And for you, that could bring sudden chaos with domestic situations or with family. With Uranus, expect the unexpected, but being that it's 2 days after the Mars-Pluto square, it's likely the energy is going to be contentious for all of us. And then on the 16th of August, transiting Mercury in Leo in your house of partnerships forms a trine to Mars in your house of communication. And that's an excellent day for communicating and partnering with others, for getting things done, for all sorts of intellectual endeavors. The Sun trines Mars that day as well, having exuberant type of energy for all of us that we need during this time. And on the 17th of August, the Sun meets up with Mercury in the sky, and that's an excellent day for pitching ideas, for writing all sorts of projects, anything you want to set that energy and attention to. And on the 18th of August, we have a new moon in Leo that takes place in your house of relationships, and it occurs at 26 degrees of Leo. And that sets back to when we had the total solar eclipse that took place on August 21st, 2017. And that was at 28 degrees of Leo, which is the royal fixed star known as Regulus. And on the 18th of this month, we have this lovely new moon in your house of relationships. So excellent energy around partnering and meeting new people. That's a day of setting intentions, very creative fire for all of us. And transiting Venus that day makes what's known as a sextile, an aspect of opportunity to Uranus in Taurus. And that is very creative energy. And for you, Uranus is in your 12th, in your house of home and family. And Venus is transiting in your house of work, will be transiting in your house of work. And that will be very positive energy for you. And on the 24th of August, transiting Mars squares Saturn in the sky, and that can be very frustrating and blocked energy. So that's better for devoting to tasks that take a lot of time and patience and don't expect immediate results, things that you probably want to avoid, that you don't enjoy doing. That's the kind of energy for doing that where you need a lot of time. But it is, again, frustrating energy, and people will feel that. On the 25th, transiting Mercury in Virgo, because Mercury exits Leo on the 19th of August and enters its rulership of Virgo, where it loves to be. And for you, it's going to be transiting in the 8th house of joint resources and blocked wounds and intimacy and other people's money. And so Mercury is going to make a beautiful trine to Uranus, and that's an excellent aspect of innovation and inventiveness. Uranus rules your sign, and it's the higher octave of Mercury and is the planet of genius and chaos, but it's very inventive energy. And that day, transiting Venus in your house of work forms an opposition to Jupiter in your 12th house of the imagination, and that's very creative energy. So that's a good day to target for brainstorming and for doing projects that take a lot of good ideas. And on the 27th of August, transiting Venus in Cancer forms a beautiful trine to Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune is in your second house of income and money. And so that could be very creative for coming up with financial opportunities. And it's also very romantic energy. So that's a nice day to target. But on the 30th of August, we've got transiting Venus forming an opposition to Pluto in the sky. And that could be a day of breakups and endings. Pluto is transiting in your house of endings, and Venus will be in your house of work and daily routines. So that's a day that could be very challenging. And also Mercury in Virgo forms an opposition to Neptune, and that can uncover secrets and deception or bring a lot of miscommunication with partnerships. So that's a day to kind of lay low. But we have a lot to work with in the month of August, and we want to work with what we have now before Mars retrogrades on September 9th, because that's going to be a lot more challenging for all of us. So I wish you a lot of luck, Aquarius, and thank you very much.